Alright, so, off the top of your head, think of a favorite fictional character. Are they from a book or movie, maybe a short story? Are you an Atticus Finch stan? What about games? Are you a Master Chief Spartan bro? Or maybe your first crush was Sephiroth? Oh, the scandal. The point being, the power of a good narrative or well-written character can draw you in and create a deep connection to you. Looking at something like World of Warcraft, you wouldn't immediately think that an MMO is a hotbed for good writing. And while you may be correct some of the time, the galaxy brains at Blizzard have given us some incredibly memorable heroes and moments. Some are good, great even. Some are bad, and man does it get bad. Some are, well, in between. But without an immersive story, that world would feel hollow, and not in a good way. Think less Silent Hill and more Superman 64. World of Warcraft is chock full of unique classes, each with different specs, and a multitude of themes for each spec. These create some fantastic lore moments, even for passive players who skip through the story. Yeah, you know who I'm talking to. I see you, person who skips cutscenes and auto-accepts quests. Don't you want to even know why you're collecting 8 dusky lumps, or killing 15 Worgen? Shame on you. Anyhow, the basics are still there for both the uninitiated or fans of fantasy. For example, Priest Heal, Warrior Swing, Warlock's Curse, Druids do everything, and Yif. Oh my lord, there is so much Yif. Oh god, there's no end to it. Well, away from that. And then there are Death Knights. They are unyielding juggernauts with command over the dead, adept at shadow and frost magic, and are the ultimate anti-caster. They first appeared in World of Warcraft as a hero class during the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Creating a brand new Death Knight in Wrath was almost a magical experience. The exclusive intro questline for them was something we'd never seen in WoW until this point. It got you heavily involved in both the gameplay of your new Death Knight, but also the story of what was to become. You were introduced to major themes and characters. The Ebon Blade, for example, is a collection of Death Knights and their champions. This includes now familiar faces like Koltira, Thessarian, and Darian Mograine. But to understand what today's Death Knights are, it helps to know not only what they are, but where they came from. The Death Knight story actually goes back. No, way back. This was a different time. A time without many of the heroes we know. Things looked a whole lot less like this, and well, more like this. These first games paved the foundational lore for Death Knights as told through the First War. During the First War, the invading orcs witnessed the might of Azeroth's magic, especially from its mages. This was a new threat that the orcish horde had no clear answer to, besides a few countermeasures from the newly trained warlocks on their end. Near the end of the First War, Ogrim Doomhammer, an orc loyal to his people and his clan, had assassinated the Horde's puppet figurehead, Blackhand, and took control of the Horde. His torturous interrogations confirmed the suspicions of corruption and led him to the real masterminds behind the Horde's invasion, Gul'dan and his Shadow Council. Ogrim went on a bloody rampage, nearly killing every member of the Shadow Council for their part in getting so many orcs needlessly killed, and for Gul'dan's part in the murder of his best friend, Duratan. Personally, if I can get any one scene animated and brought to current day, it'd have to be Ogrim's complete domination of the Shadow Council. Before finishing off the last member standing, Gul'dan begged for mercy, promising a solution to the might of Azeroth's mages. Clearly, Ogrim didn't fully trust him, but the prospect of an anti-mage was intriguing enough to give old Dan the stay of execution. Amongst the heap of broken bodies, and a barely breathing Cho'Gall, who was now sporting 2 massive scars down his chest and pretending to be dead until he could slink away, was Tarangor, one of the very first Shadowmoon orcs to become a warlock. While he was one of the many victims of Ogrim's rampage, his legacy was far from over. Gul'dan, through his research of necromantic and fell arts, created a gem out of the crystallized heart of one of his own neophyte warlocks, and used it in a twisted ritual that bound the souls of the dead to human soldier corpses. The first soul he returned, the very first Death Knight in existence of the Warcraft universe, became none other than that of Tarangor, or as he went from that day forward, Gorfin. A dead human warrior housing the soul of an orc warlock, it became a terrifying combination of brutal physical power coupled with the overwhelming shadow magic of warlocks. These shadowy and necromantic powers that Terran wielded would go on to be a key theme for Death Knights in future iterations. Be sure to remember this. Woo! Alright, you doing okay there, champ? Need a breather? Let's simplify this, sum it all up for you. The orcs invade Azeroth, led by Blackhand, and secretly Gul'dan. Ogrim Doomhammer then axes Blackhand, the Shadow Council, and then almost Gul'dan, but spares him to create a solution to mages. That solution was Death Knights, the first of which was Terran Gorfin. Got it? Good. Moving on. With all this said, you can't talk about the modern Death Knight at all without this one figure. Arthas, the Lich King's first Death Knight, who soon became the Lich King himself. Formerly Prince of Lordaeron, Knight of the Silver Hand, and Jaina's booty call, Arthas was shown to be a loyal and devoted prince to his kingdom. When news of a plague that was magical in nature began circulating in the kingdom, Arthas investigated along with his mentor, Uther Lightbringer, and his friend, secret lover, Jaina Proudmoore. They ran headfirst into the Cult of the Damned, led by a mysterious warlock named Kel'Thuzad, who was spreading the plague via granaries in Anderhall. After defeating Kel'Thuzad and his undead scourge minions, they set out to find the rumored mastermind of this outbreak, a dreadlord named Mal'Ganis. When they traveled to Stratholme, Arthas was horrified to discover that the townsfolk were already infected and slowly dying, soon to become brainless members of the Scourge. Seeing that these people were sick, Arthas immediately set up healer tents and began healing his loyal subjects, using his kingdom's vast, universal healthcare system. I'm just kidding, he just starts to murder everyone in Stratholme, whether they're showing symptoms of the infection or not. All while chasing down the apparent leader of the attack, the dreadlord Mal'Ganis. Not exactly the ideal way to handle the epidemic, but it is kind of similar to healthcare in certain first world countries, huh? Huzzah for relevance! Oh, what? Get over it, it's a joke!
Well, why you boring me? I'm right!
Now on his dark and obsessed path to chase down Mal'Ganis and end the threat to his homeland, Arthas travels to Northrend to confront this evil. Along the way, he gets many of his men killed. Mercenaries he hired are slaughtered by his treachery, and he even lets Muradin Bronzebeard, his friend and former trainer, almost die out of complete disregard. He is driven solely by revenge and desire for power to stop the Scourge, which leads him right into the hands of the Legion and their supposed puppet, the Lich King. He takes up the cursed Runeblade Frostmourne and becomes the first Death Knight of the Lich King. Confident he is now under their control, Mal'Ganis approaches Arthas in a show of overconfidence, only to be totally murdered seconds later. Whoops. Looks like the Lich King has plans outside of the Legion's purview, huh? That's okay, folks. Dreadlords are kind of racist towards humans anyhow.
Deatherrock used his telepathy to enslave a top-ranking human warlord. I believe his name was Garabon or Gilithos or something. Human names all sound the same to me.
So, wait. What does the Legion even have to do with Death Knights, Arthas, or the Lich King? Well, good question. The Legion's entire purpose for placing the Lich King, Frostmourne, and the Helm of Domination, his snazzy little helm, more on that later, on Azeroth was to weaken that world from within, making it easier to conquer. That's the Legion's whole gig: conquer and destroy world after world until everything is ash. There's actually kind of a reason for that, but that's something else to get into. They're not just evil and destructive for the sake of it. There's something hidden. Azeroth had actually repelled the Legion's first assault 10,000 years prior in the War of the Ancients, and that prompted the Legion to find a way to win through subversion as well as their overwhelming force. They created the Lich King out of Gul'dan's former master, Ner'zhul, a prolific orc shaman and leader of the Shadowmoon tribe. His spirit was fused into the Helm of Domination and was given immense power to command the undead on Azeroth, which became known as the Scourge. When the Scourge was in full motion, they were nearly unstoppable, adding more and more soldiers to their ranks for every one that they had killed. and through them, the Legion was able to summon Archimonde, one of the Lords of the Burning Legion, straight to Azeroth. Their purpose completed, the Legion cast the Scourge aside, like a used-up toothbrush. This proved to be a fatal mistake, though, as the Lich King, Arthas, and a freshly resurrected Kel'Thuzad were now free to commit to their own grand designs. Arthas, under the close direction from the Lich King, began undermining the Legion's efforts to conquer Azeroth, dealing several fatal blows to their campaign, and helping to pave the way for Archimonde's defeat. At this point, the Legion's masters, specifically Kil'jaeden, knew that the Lich King now needed to be destroyed. He cost them their victory and became too dangerous to be left to his own devices. Sensing himself in peril, the Lich King summoned Arthas back to Northrend to fuse with him, thereby removing the Lich King from his currently vulnerable state. Though it took wading through remnants of the Legion's army and a conscripted defense force of Lady Vashj, Kael'thas, and even Illidan, Arthas made it to the frozen throne atop Icecrown Glacier. He then donned the Helm of Domination, not only cementing himself as the first modern Death Knight, but as the first truly complete Jailer of the Damned, the one true Lich King. Ooh, chills. It's gotta be giving you chills at this point. How damn cool is that, really? From Paladin of the Silver Hand and Prince of Lordaeron, to heartless conquering Death Knight, to one of Blizzard's most memorable, recognizable villains of all time, Arthas, the Lich King. Look at that! We made it the entire way through the Death Knight history lesson. Way to go, Slugger! You really held up to make it here. Some of this may have been absolute gibberish depending on your knowledge of the games or Warcraft in general, and for the rest of you, it could very well have been a retread of stuff you already knew. Either way, here's hoping you had a good time, because there is absolutely a part 2 coming to this. That's right, more dated memes and boomer gamer history is coming your way, but it'll be straight from old Zell's perspective, as we're going straight into the release of Wrath of the Lich King. So, put on your pre-frayed clothing, pause your 5th rewatch of Twilight or The Dark Knight, and strap on your fucking stupid Ugg boots. We're going back to 2008, kids!